So watching One Punch Man and One Punch Man season 2, like whenever I seen the trailer for One Punch Man season 2 before it was released, I was like, okay, this like not the animation but the colors and the way like the art style was drawn. I actually enjoyed it, and it looked really like saturated, but almost had like a blue cinematic type filter, which I really enjoyed. Like I liked it. The season 1 kind of had a more normal art style, but the animation was phenomenal in season 1. So having said that, though, whenever like I ended up dropping One Punch Man season 2 simply because I was like, okay, what is this animation? So I was one of those people that was kind of upset by the animation because, it wasn't Madhouse Studio doing it. And usually, you know how Madhouse goes. They don't tend to make season 2 for any anime that there's been a couple, but for the majority, they don't tend to do animes that have 2 seasons or, more than one basically. But they do really good, like quality stuff. And I heard a lot of mixed signals, reviews, whatever, when it came to One Punch Man season 2. A lot of people were criticizing it, saying like the animation is like a big letdown compared to season 1 because, it's a different studio. I noticed some people didn't like the way the art style was because some of the characters' faces were kind of changed a little bit and were a little bit different and stuff. I didn't mind it. Like I enjoyed the designs and, like I said, the blue cinematic type filter that was over basically the whole show, whatever, compared to like season 1 was more like just normal colors. But what set season 1 and season 2 apart was like the animation. I don't think the animation on One Punch Man season 2 was that great until like the very end, where it started being more like high quality. Now, that being said, I did drop it when it was like the first 2 episodes. And I was like, I'll just catch up whenever like this season's over. It's not like it's that many episodes. I don't know what really happens in the show, but I thought this type of show was more of a, like a fight-in type shows, nothing really like too serious. So once the whole season ended up finishing, I went back and I really enjoyed it. The animation really wasn't, it was not like it was terrible, but it's just when you come from season 1 and you see the quality and how it dropped, just animation wise, not like the art style. It's kind of like, oh, I expected it to be this way, but it wasn't that and whatever. But I enjoyed it, and the animation, it's still good. It's just not like amazing. This show seems to be sort of I don't know, the way, I guess it depends how you interpret it, but I don't know how the creator intended to make like this type of show. If he just wanted to have a good time, or whoever wrote the manga or the web series. I think it's a web series, it's a comic, something like that. But I really enjoyed the story more for season 2 than I did season 1. Season 1 was just him trying to find someone who can be stronger than him, basically, and he kind of wanted to get his name out there. On this one, Saitama wasn't in the season 2 a lot, to be honest, but what made me sort of like this season a little bit more about him was because, season 1, he wanted to find someone who was capable of being able to match him in power and who had like the same strength or even higher, because he was just basically bored. And in this one, it goes into a different type of conversation whenever he's talking to King, saying that there's really like an empty feeling whenever you complete something and you're the best at what you do. That's how I took it, because he said there's no point in being the best. It's not fun simply because you have like no enjoyment in being the best. Yeah, you may be the best at like fighting, but things end so quickly. Like every time that he fights, it's not even a challenge. It's not even fun. The fun part, even though at the moment, like we tend to notice that the fun parts are really the training and how we get to the end game or end goal. But not once we get there, if we're too overpowered we're too good at what we do, it may seem like, well, what's the challenge anymore? I think like part of the beauty is that you go through all this training, you go through all like whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and then you can see your progress within time, and you can look back and reflect and be like, I did this, I put in the effort, I put in the work, and now I'm at this point, and it was an enjoyable journey. I had the struggles, my ups and my downs, and now I'm at the point where I'm powerful. Like that's how I seen the way he was having this conversation with King, saying, yeah, he's the very best and he's powerful, but now he doesn't have, and he feels like he doesn't have any purpose, as in like there's nothing to do once he's accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. And King gave him some good advice, which was kind of funny because, it really wasn't his advice, but it's still, I think that's more or less how it makes fun of us, sort of, that we take advice from anime or we take advice from TV shows or whatever, to a certain extent, a lot of us, because you can kind of reflect from a real life perspective and see that some things can be implemented into your own life, and you may not be able to see it sometimes, and sometimes it takes like a show or reading a book to open your eyes to a new perspective and be like, oh yeah, this is basically common sense, but we didn't see this path before. But he basically tells Saitama that, he's worrying about nothing. Basically, he needs to find another type of fulfillment. He's already accomplished this, and that's good. And there's pros and cons to everything. And the fact that he's powerful and he's a good person is a good thing, because that means no one's ever going to be able to take over the world or whatever and bring havoc across their society, and he'll be able to protect them. But Saitama's just kind of lost in life right now, simply because he can't find that enjoyment. It sort of goes to the reality of, maybe you have everything in your life, but you still can't find happiness. Like you feel like something is still missing. You've accomplished everything. You have like your dream girl or man or whatever, you like your dream relationship, all the materialistic things that you could ever want. You have the most indisposable income, whatever. Like you basically have everything that you ever wanted to achieve. And now you're like, well, something still feels missing. What is missing? And you can't tell. So you sort of, and sorry about the phone in the background if you hear it, but sometimes so it's like you work so hard to achieve something, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm at where I thought I wanted to be, but this isn't exactly how I wanted to feel. And a lot of people kind of get conflicted on what they actually wanted, because they assume that they wanted this thing, but once they accomplish it, they still feel sort of empty, because they assume that this was kind of going to fill that void that they were feeling before. And maybe it's not something that they wanted, or maybe it was something that they wanted at a certain point in time in their life, but they no longer want that anymore. So this kind of it doesn't go too much into detail with this, but you can kind of tell that this is him really trying to find some fulfillment in his life. And, King just basically tells him, well, it's kind of like, you're complaining over nothing. You have something that a lot of people will strive to be at your level, yet you're over here basically just complaining about something that you're overpowered and you're strong enough to be able to do whatever you want. You just need to find some other type of fulfillment in your life. So that part I really enjoyed, and you can sort of piece it back together to season 1, because he was just bored, right? Like we assume he was just bored because he said he was bored, but it was kind of going through something that maybe some people go through in life, in our own reality, that we're sort of trying to find what's missing. So I really like that. So I enjoyed that part of his story, even though he really wasn't that much in this season, in season 2, but it was still very much enjoyable. Now, Garu, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the person that was in the season 2 the most, the villain, I don't know if I could call him a villain, but he wants to become like a monster. And like I enjoyed his story, and I enjoy his, like, overall the way his character is and developed and what we know about him so far. Because even at the end of the season, we sort of see a little bit of background when he was a kid. although I don't agree with the way he goes about things or the way he does things, like I can kind of see his perspective on him. I don't know if that's what led him to become the way he is, simply because when he was a kid, he's always seen that, the villains are always fighting against the heroes, and the heroes are always like in a group, but the villain is always just by himself most of the time. And they always have a disadvantage whenever it comes to fighting the heroes. So he was always like just complimenting them, saying, oh yeah, look, from this perspective, they held on pretty well. If it was a 1v1, this villain would have won. Now, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with, seeing the truth of that reality, but I don't know, encouraging like the villain should have won or whatever. It's kind of, at least in the realistic sense, it's kind of bad, right? Like you don't want the villains to win because maybe they have a sense of trying to make the world worse than what it is or whatever, bring people down and hurt people, kill people, destroy things, be the ruler of things. Now, the reason I say I don't know if this is what led him to become who he is now is when he was a kid, he ended up playing, you know how you've seen his backstory if you've seen the season. It showed that they put him to be the villain whenever they were playing like a little game, and yet they had everyone, like the heroes, I guess, in the game, whatever, hold him down while he was getting beat up. And Garou was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm supposed to defend myself. And everyone was basically against him since he was a little kid, even though they were just playing this little game. So basically, the way I see it, he was getting bullied. And I don't know if like his childhood, because that's all it showed. It showed like that, just that year or that those few months, whatever, however long that time frame was that it showed us. So maybe it could have occurred during like 1 month, 1 week, whatever. I don't know if that changed his perspective and he wanted to be a monster, but become a powerful one to where he never lost, simply because he saw how like unbalanced the fights have always been. So like, I don't know. I still like I enjoy him. He's not really a villain because he didn't kill anybody. He just wanted to be the best monster that he could be. And he didn't even want to join the Monster Association, the one that they were trying to go after him to join with them. I don't know if, like, what's going to happen. I didn't read anything, so I don't know what happens and how the arc is or whatever, but I hope to make a season 3. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. But yeah, overall, I did like how he was getting more powerful. He seems to be like Saitama, to where he's really dedicated and motivated to be like the very best. And I can see this being sort of the villain or whatever, anti-whatever, from the opposite of Saitama and being just as powerful. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, I still don't really understand his perspective. I still don't see what he's trying to accomplish besides wanting to be the best, like Saitama wanted to be the best before he became the best. But Garou wants to be the best, but just on the villain side or the monster side. I still don't really understand why he does. Is it because it's just an unfair advantage, the way he grew up seeing the villains being destroyed? And why would you even want to be a villain in the first place? Like, was it because he got bullied and that's why he wanted to change things like that? Maybe he just had a bad upbringing and he's like, well, what's the point of even doing my best if people are just going to consider me to be a bad person, no matter if I'm being honest? Because even the principal and like all these other people didn't want to believe him, and it was never really his fault. So yeah, but that's as far as I understood that concept when it came to his story. So overall, I really enjoyed the story of season 2. I enjoyed the art style. The animation was okay. I think it was Metal Bat. I don't know if what's his name, the one with the bat. I really enjoyed his story. He was becoming stronger. He was really cool and whatever, went into, like, I thought it was really adorable how he didn't want to fight in front of his sister. So he ended up not fighting or whatever with Garou completely. So yeah, that was cool. It really not too much. I mean, he was like in 3-4 episodes because he was fighting the centipedes and all this other stuff. But story-wise, I don't think there was really much there, but it was amazing to watch. The same with the tournament with Saitama. There really wasn't much there. It was just Saitama trying to see if there was a good fighter. But there was a cool concept, or a cool what do I say? I guess a character in there. I forgot his name, but it's the character that went up against Saitama at the finals, right? And I wish I could remember his name, but regardless, it was the one, like I said, Saitama fought at the very end. And I really liked his story, sort of. He was kind of a jerk, but that's because he's been super conceited and he thought he was always the best. Yet he realized that he wasn't the best and he wasn't as powerful as he thought he was. And once he met Saitama, he knew just how much he had left to go. And especially when he met the villains that he wasn't able to defeat, he thought his life was over. So he ended up becoming, humble after going through certain experiences. And he wanted to become better, and he wanted, Saitama to be his master, whatever. But, Saitama doesn't want to do none of that. Genos kind of just pushed himself onto Saitama, in season 1. So, yeah. Overall, that's another part. I liked his story. He was kind of a jerk, and I thought he was going to be decently strong, but, I guess he's pretty strong. I don't know how strong he is compared to Genos, but he seemed pretty strong. So, yeah. I'm really excited if there is a season 3. I hope there is. I don't know if it's going to be by the same company or a different studio, but I really hope there's a season 3. I want to see what's going to end up happening with the whole Monster Association thing and see Garou and how far strong he becomes. And I want him to finally actually meet Saitama, and Saitama knows that he's, the hero, whatever killer, whatever they had called him. I want them to actually fight, even though it might not be a fight, but I want them to actually meet and all this stuff. And Saitama recognizes him and all that. So overall, I really enjoyed my time with the series, season 2. Yeah, I enjoyed both of them. And I just wanted to put my thoughts out there. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and let me know your thoughts about what you thought about season 2 compared to season 1. And if you enjoyed it just as much, or what you loved about it and what you hated about it. Yeah, but anyways, until next time, that's all I have to say. So yeah, be safe.